to order. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just real quick, I just want to update everyone how we got here today, why we got here. It's just so it's clear there's no rumors or innuendos or anything like that. After the vote the other night, it was requested by County Commissioner Wade if we could have a special called meeting. And after consulting with our counselor what that looked like, of course the County Commission Chair, Ms. Paulette, or myself can call a special called meeting. And I think the concern or the topic was the resolution that was voted on and did not pass. So in order, just to be clear, and I tried to emphasize this in the introduction of the email last week when we called the meeting, for that resolution to be brought back up and be voted on again, one of the members of the prevailing side, in this case it was the defeated side, would have to vote to reconsider to bring that back up. Now, obviously we've got some workshop time. My understanding is there's some possible other proposals out there. And just to let you know, I'm not here today to ask any commissioner to change their vote. I'm not here to ask the sheriff to cave in. My job as mayor is just to try to do what's best for the county as a whole. To bring everybody together to a possible resolution to better, one, our employees, two, to protect the county commission and our elected officials. And so that's how we got here today. I know some people aren't happy about being here. I know some are ecstatic about it. But my job is just to be as fair and as honest to everybody involved as we possibly can. That's not saying that a decision has to be made. Even though there is a 10 o'clock meeting scheduled, a decision does not have to be made at 10 o'clock. I will let you know, I felt that this meeting was so important. I have not, and I just told the sheriff this, I've not been to mayor's conference in 3 years. When was that supposed to start, Lori?
This morning.
This morning in Murfreesboro. So chances are I'm not going to get to go again, or I may get to go for the last day. I felt that this was a priority to bring everybody together and just to make sure the air is cleared. I do thank everybody for coming today on a morning and not an evening. And Reed, just where are we at? Have I missed anything as far as parliamentary law or anything that what can and cannot be done today?
Well, you hit that part pretty much, but I think everybody knows what I'm about to say, but I feel an obligation to say it. Office holders, especially office holders that have staff, they depend on the county commission to fund their staff, to set salaries that they can pay their people. What we run into in small counties like us, and we're competing with larger counties. We're competing with counties that have better tax base than we are. But the reality is that when you have somebody who has a particular skill, and that skill can be sold at a higher price to other nearby counties or cities, then you're going to start losing staff. When you start losing staff, then you've got to hire new staff. The question is, in today's world, we're short on people, especially short on people that are willing to serve in law enforcement positions. And so people are getting higher pays. And what the sheriff is dealing with is that he's competing with surrounding counties, and even in our case, the city of Sweetwater, for competing for officers. And if you don't fund it to the level that he can compete, then he has the ability to go to court and ask the judge, chancellor, to, in what usually called a clerk hire petition, because it's usually for circuit court clerks or something, but rarely is it for sheriffs, but he could ask the judge to order certain pay levels for county employees. Now, what he has to prove in that lawsuit is just what I've told you, that he's losing people to surrounding area because of pay, or that he has difficulty in hiring employees because of pay. And if he does that and establishes that he's operating from a position of weakness and can't attract staff, then the court will impose it. In almost every case, the petitioner wins that lawsuit. And they go ahead and impose the salaries necessary to allow the office holder to staff his positions. And on the way, he picked up a couple of legal fees. One for the lawyer that's representing the people that are filing the petition. And since I would be in a conflict of interest, since I also, in my position as county attorney, advise the sheriff and other office holders, I can't be on the other side of this lawsuit. So you'd have two lawyers that you are gonna pay for both of them. Plus all the court costs, plus all the, if they call, and a lot of these people involve a lot of expert witnesses, calling in with people that give expert testimony about staffing levels and costs. And almost always, people from other counties, about what they're doing, what their pay raises are. So I just say that to make you aware that it can go to court, and it has gone to court. And many years ago, I fought some fee petitions here in this county, representing office holders, but it's pretty much shooting ducks in a barrel as long as they're reasonable in their request. So I just bring that just for your information, so that you've heard it from me. I know you've already heard it. Another question that was raised in my conversations is, can you be sued personally? And the answer is absolutely not. You're not going to be. This is not a personal issue. It's a political issue. It's for the judge to decide a political issue, not a personal issue. And if you have no fear of that, you're still supposed to do what you're elected to do. And it's look after the best interest of the county.
Who pays for that lawsuit? You taxpayers or the?
Well, county.
Yeah.
County pays for it, but
Taxpayers pay that whole lot.
so it's our income is from, county, the tax, real property taxes and sales taxes, mostly, there's some other fees, but that's mostly it. So anytime that you have an increase in pay, anytime you have a lawsuit, you've got it pretty much to the penny on how much it's gonna cost.
And it's in essence the taxpayers that are being sued because they're the ones that provide the money.
I'm just gonna say it's the county that's been sued. I don't know, the taxpayers, certainly, right at this point, you'd have to say the county cannot fund it with their present resources. And I'm not sure that's true, but looking in the future, it may be true. So, that's what some of the things that the court will consider as they consider the issue is just, you don't want to use one-time money to pay continuing expense, for instance. I used an example many years ago. I saw a city commission, they had a lot of money in the bank and they decided it was time to give it back. And so they gave all the employees an 8% raise. Within 3 years, now they were having to borrow money to pay the staff. Because once you give it, you can't take it away. So I would say that it's not totally accurate to say you're sure the taxpayers. That's only if it requires a tax increase to fund.
This is based on money from a grant, and we don't know if the grant will be feasible or available in 3 years.
And that's one of the things that I was trying to say.
Is that correct?
I can
Yes.
explain it correctly, but none of us have a crystal ball.
Right.
There's grants and there's always grants. Grants move around and depends on who's gonna be the president or the governor or whatever legislature might be focused on or what
They
grants
may
are gonna be
change their
available.
mind.
So there's always gonna be grants. But with this particular grant that we're using to try to fund this particular pay increase will be available. I just don't have that, I don't have that ability. I wish I did.
Mr. Dixon,
Yeah.
how expensive could this get? I ain't hold you to nothing, I'm saying, how expensive could this get?
The number that jumps into my mind is between 10 and 15,000.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe 20.
Thank you.
Lawyers these days are charging between $300 and $500 an hour. I think the lawyer that people in Nashville are charging more than that. So it can go up to $600 an hour. Local lawyers in this area charge for $300 an hour. Knoxville is higher. But we start multiplying $500 by 10 hours, that takes you long to get $5,000.
Thank
So
you.
that's the best I can go.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
Thank you. The county commission, persons of the county commission have come up with a proposal, and Gail, I think, has provided a copy to everyone. And this is a counter proposal to what the sheriff had.
Can I ask what persons came up with this? And when this was created, how was this created?
It was.
I mean, I'm on the
created-
commission, so I know nothing about this until 4 minutes ago I was handed it, so I'm just curious.
It
Did I
was.
miss a meeting?
No.
Oh, okay.
And I suppose if you say persons, then we're probably dealing with some kind of sunshine violation if multiple individuals worked on this together.
I
So I'd like
don't
to know
know
kind
that,
of
I think it was one person
Okay,
that worked on it
okay.
and
Well, I think
handed
maybe-
it to us this morning, just like they have you.
Okay.
You got the same thing I got.
Well, I think maybe say it was from one individual,
One.
not
And
the
I-
entire board.
that was
Uh,
me misstating,
Yeah.
and
Okay,
I
all right,
apologize.
not a problem.
I apologize for that. That's my mistake.
Because I personally don't support this. I support the resolution that we adopted or attempted to adopt last week, so I didn't work on this. So I want to be clear that I was
I
not
didn't
involved.
either.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see it till this morning. I didn't see it a few minutes ago.
Right,
That clears that up. There wasn't
Yes.
persons, there was
yes.
one person.
And
Okay.
Madam Chair, may I say something, please?
You may, sir.
I received this proposal yesterday in email. Whoever worked on it, I'm not gonna ask who, because I don't want to get jammed up, but I do appreciate the effort that went into it. The numbers are not way off, so I do appreciate your time and the effort that you put into it. I do want to say one thing as we move forward with this. I guess you eat an elephant one bite at a time. And retention. That is the focus of this, is we have to retain employees. Since the last county commission meeting where the resolution failed, John Acuff, which is a 28-year veteran with the sheriff's office, a sergeant, has turned his notice in. He's leaving us. Yesterday evening, on my way out of the office, I got a call Saturday from a friend of mine that works for the state and says that one of our other sergeants has applied and interviewed for a position with the state. And he's had his first interview and more than likely has the job. And that's Clint Brookshire. He's I guess the rank structure would be John Acuff, Ray Haynes, and then Clint Brookshire would be the next senior deputy as far as the total deputy seniority. With that being said, when Acuff worked his last shift, we're gonna be down to 3 deputies per shift, is what we're gonna be down to. We're losing people every single day. I understand we've had proposals to the one that I received yesterday, the numbers wasn't way off, and it was to add 2 more deputies. And I appreciate that, I really do. But I want us to focus on the salaries first, if we can. Get that salary where it's comparable to the, I'm not even gonna ask for surrounding counties. Let's focus here in Monroe County and focus on what Sweetwater Cities is, because that's our comparable pay. That's a city within this county, and we've lost several officers to them, and I know they got 3 more openings, and they're trying their best to get our deputies into those 3 positions. So, luckily, these guys have been patient, hoping to work through this with us, so they don't have to leave and go somewhere else. So, if we could, let's stay focused on the retention side of what we can come up with, agree to on the salaries, and then if money's available, if we can. I walked into this not asking for $1 from the fund balance. I don't want money from the fund balance. I want us to be able to stay within the budget, my budget, that we've already, that you guys have already funded in the SRO lines, that the grant has freed up. I'm like you guys, we don't know, yeah, I'm sure we're confident that this grant will be in place for 3 years, because I don't see Governor Lee putting it in his budget, then taking it out the year later. Just don't see that. But now, 3 years from now, we don't know. We really don't. But with that being said, let's forget about the grant. It never existed. We never got it. We would still be sitting here having this conversation. There's no way around this. And it would be a total different conversation, because I would be asking for money to come from fund balance to fund this. We cannot survive, we cannot perform our duties at the rate that we're going with the amount of deputies that we have. Our overtime budget, we're balancing it with the open positions that we have. So you're not gonna see a huge increase on that, but you will see resolutions, us having to move money from one line to the other to balance those. But again, and I'll be quiet, retention, that's really what we need to focus on right now.
And if you look at the resolution that was turned down the other night, it was taken from fund balance.
And that's just technical, that's just stuff that I have to do on the GL side. What he's saying is, with this grant money, you've already appropriated funds, and I'm not sure, and I have a question out to audit, and she was supposed to call me yesterday, and she got busy, and she didn't call me back. Technically, since you have already appropriated this money in his budget, it is possible, if she will allow this, and we don't get a finding, that I could deplete the SRO money that is already there and move it over to his other salary line items and benefits. And then when the grant money comes in, increase the grant money on the revenue side and increase the expenditure side on the SRO side. That's not typically how we do things, because the expenditures are already there. So if he's wanting to do, not just Tommy, but anybody in the community, any budget, we pull money out of fund balance. When the revenue comes in, we increase fund balance for the money that's not appropriated in expenditures. So at the end of the day, it'll be a wash, because you're using fund balance to balance the revenues and expenditures, just at different times. And I hope I explained
So
that.
technically, it would not, in the end, come from fund balance, because usually it's just moving money around in the department.
Yes, but I'm
And
not.
that's the questions
Yes.
that most people have.
Yes, and I'm not sure that she will allow me to deplete, because there are payrolls getting paid bi-weekly. So I'm not sure she would let me deplete a budget to move it to another budget and then add it when we already have the money. But it would be September meeting before I can put the money back in there. But I have asked that question, if we could do it
And
that way.
I thought we had received the grant funds.
We have, but I still have to put it through you to put it in the budget. It's just a technical thing that I have to do.
So
Any
regardless,
questions?
if it comes out of the fund balance, then the general, or the grant will go back into the fund balance to recover that money.
Yes.
If she says so, if she says that she can do that.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
It's just,
If she don't, what does it gonna affect the fund balance overall?
well, he turned in 641,000 last year, so if he turns in money back this year, that money will go back to fund balance. Plus the 127,000 that we're getting from the Board of Education will go back into fund balance. And the money left over, because I think with his first proposal, it was around 320 that would be going back into fund balance. So all of that would be increasing the fund balance.
It's almost $1 million going to fund balance.
No,
No.
no.
Did Christy Windsor not say?
The
that
600 that he's turned back,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the 600 that he's turned back, plus the 320 on the original proposal, that's 900 and something thousand.
Yeah.
I had to think about
That's $1 million.
But The 600 and something was last year,
23.
Right, but it's
Alright.
just money that he's turned back.
so, but that's not this year. Okay,
No, but we're one month into this budget cycle, so nobody knows what this year's gonna be.
right, right. And you
But
need to
yeah,
apply
but
that
yeah,
across.
but yeah, we're one
the
month into
board.
this new budget cycle, and we pulled $400,000 out of fund balance, directly out of fund balance, at last month's meeting. So you can't use that as an argument to say that we're not gonna know what's gonna happen, because we just did that last month's meeting. Not for the sheriff's department, but we did pull almost $400,000 out of fund balance directly.
Gail, technically, not counting last year's budget, the 320 something other and the 127 from the school balance would be technically what's gonna be in the 23-24 budget, correct? We were talking about this money that he turned in already. Okay, that's last
That's
budget.
last year.
That's over with. So the real amount of money that's gonna be coming in, we don't know exact figures, is 3 something plus 127, correct?
Yes,
So that's the real numbers we're really looking at
Yes.
for the 23-24 budget.
yes.
Is that 320-something Winslow, Christian Winslow, is that the grant we're talking about coming in?
No, he's only wanting to use a portion of the 750, and there's 320 left of that. So the 320 he's not using will go into fund balance, and then the 127 from the Board of Education will increase fund balance.
Make sure that I understand this. So if we do nothing, the grant that we've received for $750,000, if we don't make any changes to the salaries in the sheriff's department, that $750,000 will go into fund balance regardless, as a receipt, correct? And so the sheriff's asking to use approximately $400,000 of that. So the money that we have right now would fund his proposal and still put $320,000 plus what the school's coming back in this year, cash in hand. So we're not talking about multiple fiscal years, we're talking about this year. So we fund his proposal and put almost $400,000 back into fund balance to increase it. Am I missing that? Thank you.
I'm just missing his proposal. Have you seen it?
Yeah,
His
you voted it
proposal's on the
down
table.
last budget meeting, last board meeting. That was the proposal.
25F.
Yeah, we had a resolution that the Board of Commissioners voted down. That was the proposal.
Down here.
If we voted down while we're here,
Yeah.
Because we gotta do something.
why, if it
We
was
gotta take-
voted down, it's like, why we're here.
I think we're here in short term because one of the commissioners couldn't make it, and he's asked you to reconsider and give him the opportunity to weigh in on the issue.
job too, so.
I
you
do
know,
too.
Well,
That's part of it.
well, that's our right to be able to call meetings, so that's why we're here.
We're here in this workshop to determine whether we can go forward in a meeting, official meeting. And the workshop, the purpose of the workshop is to try to resolve, if we can, this issue, to keep it from going forward to litigation. That's why we're here.
Sure.
So you're saying go with the old one, or was he going for position of position?
Sorry, I
I
didn't-
chose another one.
I can't take that position, I get to get
Sheriff?
elected. That's your all's job. My job is to say,
Are you
look,
sticking with the same proposal, or do you have another proposal?
That's what we're wanting to know, because
Well, I'm just asking him right now.
If you don't mind, I'm gonna move this podium here.
I'm just,
We're
I'm
all
asking you
like
what's going on.
taking turns looking around this thing. So we're not playing peekaboo with each other, we can actually see. You know, what I'm asking for, like I said in the beginning, is for us to focus on this retention of our deputies. The numbers that we gave you guys on the last resolution that failed was $52,500. That was base pay on the deputy. And I don't know if you guys still have that or if you have it or not. What I was given yesterday in the email was, let me find it here, would be $50,000. So honestly, we're $2,500 off on the deputy salaries, is where we're at. What I proposed, I mean, the original one was $55,000. And that's the one that the majority of you guys, minus Roger and Mac was absent, Roger, voted no. That was the original agreement that we agreed on in the first workshop. Then we,
Can I stop you real quick?
yeah, go ahead.
You said we were at 52.5?
Yeah, that.
This resolution we have that we turned down, the second page of that says deputies 12 at 55,000 each for 10,599, or 12 equals 127.
That would be,
That was the resolution that was on the table.
that was the first, that should have been the first resolution.
That would be live.
That was, yes. That
On the wrong resolution?
BJ,
That's the first resolution.
yeah, if you'll remember that one, we tabled that one.
Yeah.
Went to the workshop,
And then
we
it come
agreed,
back
yes.
on August.
It came back in August on the 52.5.
Actually, you got something correct? We're right here.
Since we do have this $750,000, and I've asked this before, Tommy, how many cars can we get? We need cars for these guys on the road, we really do.
Well, we do, and we had 5 budgeted into our budget, and the commission saw fit in July to remove those cars. So that has put us a year and a half probably behind on this vehicle. So to answer your question, honestly, the 5 that the county commission removed in July, we need those 5 cars. And at the first workshop we had, Commissioner Everhart asked the question, if you add 2 additional deputies, can you make 2 vehicles work until May? We go back into the budget workshop. And I agreed with that. I said we could. That we could make 2 old cars, we could pull them out, get them back on the road and just satisfy the need until we go into the workshop in May. But to answer your question, if we're talking vehicles, then, we have the 5 that you guys removed that's been in the budget for many years. And then if we add 2 new positions, we need 7 cars.
Can you not buy cars from the 750,000?
No, ma'am. That
No cars are not allowed?
That 750, let me rephrase that, the $750,000 grant has to go directly to the SROs.
Correct.
And when we deduct their salary and benefits and everything out of that 750, then we're gonna be left, what would you know, Gail?
It's like a couple thousand.
Yeah, it's like $2,000 or $3,000 is what we're gonna be left. So.
But the
that
money
would
we
be-
appropriated for the SROs.
The money you appropriated, yes, we.
You
every what
could buy
guys allow.
cars with that money.
Every what you allow, we do, yes. Now, I think that's at all, at y'all's discretion, every what you want to allow on that. This
Let me
is-
ask you this.
Yes, sir.
Sheriff. The Sweetwater City Patrol Officer,
Yes,
been there 4 years. He's already got all his training over with, and he's at top pay. What is his top pay?
$51,272.
Now, what's yours at?
44,000, currently 44,004.
And theirs is 51,
Yes, 51,272.
and that's the city.
That's the city.
Just one quick question here.
Yes.
And I'm not in favor currently to change anything from the original resolution, but there's been some conversation about vehicles. My question would be to you, managing your department, if this body was to fund purchasing those cars instead of taking care of our employees, who's gonna drive those?
You're not gonna have anyone in the car.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you. So that shouldn't be anywhere on our conversation
Sure.
tonight, today.
Yes, sir.
How many cars, since I talked to you last, it's been a while, but how many cars are still not on the road that you're waiting on equipment for?
We got any furlough work?
Yeah, we got 3.
That was
So
the
you got
last
3
time
new
we put it.
vehicles, you've got 3 new vehicles that you're waiting on equipment to be put in those cars.
That we ordered last year.
Right, I'm just trying to figure out where you're at.
Yes.
So those cars, when they go on board,
Yes,
there's gonna be 3 or 4 pulled off the road.
yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's what we talked about, pulling those 2 cars from that's coming out of service and replacing those.
I just wanna make sure,
Yes.
because
Madam Chair, here our clock
Yes.
And I think under parliamentary procedure, we have to call this session.
Yes, you do have to call the 10 o'clock meeting to order. My suggestion, since we do have some very productive conversation, is call the meeting to order by motion, go straight to an immediate recess and open the workshop back up would be my suggestion. And then you can call the meeting back to order with a motion.
So a motion to,
extend the workshop.
Yes, basically what you,
I'll
yes.
make the motion.
Well, we got to call the
Call
10
the
o'clock
meeting
meeting
to order
to order,
first.
just like a normal meeting, and then we'd have to move to
Well,
recess.
it
Miss
don't matter,
Jane's
yeah.
ready.
So
Miss
we'll-
Jane?
Jane?
All rise. Monroe County Commissioners are now in session. Chairperson Paulette Summey presiding. God bless the United States, state of Tennessee, and Monroe County.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Miller, would you lead us in prayer, please? Craig, would you
Yeah.
lead us in prayer, please?
Father in heaven, as we come before you once again this morning to thank you for this day that you've given us, Lord, for the blessings, God, that you bestowed upon us. We ask God for your leadership and guidance, Lord, as we gather here this morning, God, to do the right thing. We ask, Lord, that you just lead us and guide us, Father, and help us to make the right decisions, Lord, to better our county, our departments, our taxpayers. Consider us all, Heavenly Father. We ask, Lord, that you just forgive us of our sins. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Roll call, please. No, it has to keep
We're
going.
doing a roll call.
Roll call, please. They're saying no.
We're shuffling, sorry.
William Cross.
President.
Danny Everhart.
Here.
Brian Harrell.
Here.
Craig Miller.
Here.
Adam Reynolds.
President.
DJ Siler.
Present.
Paulette Summey.
Here.
Roger Thomas.
Here.
Travis Wade.
Here.
Mac Williams.
Present.
10 present.
Mike, you want to ask to go to a recess?
Do what?
Just make a motion, we go into recess?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we'll go into recess.
Second, okay. We go into recess now.
I have to vote on that.
Roll call,
Just do it.
or all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? There's some that's wanting to take a break. Is that possible?
Yes, you can take a break by recess, but I would encourage you to hurry and do that and just assemble back as soon as possible, resume workshop.
I'm gonna close the door.
Anticipating flood. Fix the move. I hear you.
Yeah, you're right.
Wait a minute.
Still there, still 12. Danny, grab it.
Danny, you got it?
Got it, Matt?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, that's good right Reconvene the workshop.
Let's reconvene our workshop. We'll reconvene the workshop. Any other questions? Comments?
Yeah.
Okay,
As I'm putting it back to the sheriff, do you have any new proposals, or you want to stick with what you got?
Well, what are we, Mayor, I'm a little lost on this, what are we allowed to do?
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna make a recommendation. My understanding is we'd have to, someone on the prevailing side who voted in defeating the resolution would have to bring this resolution
To
back.
reconsider, yes.
Motion to reconsider.
Yes.
I don't think, I may be wrong, but I don't think that that's gonna happen today, so can I introduce an amended resolution?
An amended not an amendment to the
Amended.
former resolution, an amendment.
Not in a conversation.
I think it being in a called session is the issue here.
So you can't amend this one by.
Without reconsidering, no.
Okay.
It would have, I mean, and I'll tell you, just since we're back in workshop, I was asked a lot because, especially the commission in the past, if you remember, we had the Teleco track resolution brought before you, I think approximately 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. But each time it was brought by that commissioner by resolution, it was slightly different. The first time it involved the track at Teleco and Sequoia and Sweetwater getting something. The next time it was the track at Teleco by itself. The third time it was the track at Teleco by itself with a different price adjustment to it. So the resolution was actually different every time. That's how, because I was asked, well, why was it not reconsidered? Because it was a different resolution every time. Now, the caveat to that versus this, none of those were called meetings. The only thing advertised was 522-P. My advice would be continue with the workshop as much as we can, and then, Counselor, and is there any possibility to vote on a new resolution outside the advertised resolution?
Probably not. Technically, you have to do the advertising. If it's, I keep asking this question, how much change would be required to make it a new resolution?
Right.
That's a parliamentary question, but the answer is it's some change. But again, if it's significant, enough to make a new resolution, it needs to have a new notice, a new public opportunity for public involvement.
Now, what can be done, and done here today in front of all of us, and again, it goes back to the reconsider. If someone wants to reconsider that motion, bring it back up, then that motion can be amended from top to bottom. Every number on it can be amended, but it has to be reconsidered. That means one of the 4 that voted against it has to bring it back to the floor. Doesn't mean that when you reconsider it, you're voting or in favor again, you're just bringing it back up to possible amended. But that's the only way it can be done today.
So then without them, that new resolution we were just handed today, or him asking the sheriff to create something new, none of that can occur unless somebody changes their mind and brings it up.
Today.
And if not, then we move forward and we go to suit, which is gonna encumber us to reserve money being spent to attorneys. I mean, that's where we're at today.
I've been sitting here mulling the question, and I was asked earlier about what it would cost, and I'm probably low. So I want to make sure my problem is there.
I think you're way low, given the fact that you mentioned that witnesses will be called and other things. When I call witnesses on the union side, I mean, my witnesses were $50,000 per.
Last time I did this was something like 34 years ago, but I'm probably low, so I'm just gonna say it's gonna be expensive, and I don't want you to, 20 is probably cheap. As I sit here and think about the lawyers that are gonna be involved, not that it matters, because litigation is the least of your issues. the overall cost of the fund proposal is the main part.
Mr. Dixon?
Yeah.
Just to clarify this, okay, and I'm hearing Mitch talk, hearing you talk, if one of the four that was opposing decides to bring it back for reconsideration, reconsidering this, whether they vote for it again or not, we could amend it or possibly work it over, what I'm trying to say. But if they say reconsider, then they don't have, they can still vote the way they want to after the
That's
one's been
correct.
amended. Okay,
They
thank
just
you.
wanna throw the same resolution into the same.
No, you can mess up, you still vote. wherever you
Throws the
vote.
same one in, but now it can be talked about, amended, whatever.
Or not amended.
Or not, and just voted straight up and down. But in the absence of that reconsideration, we have one option, and that's, he's gonna take us to court.
As Tommy was saying, we ain't but maybe $1,000 off on this, on each one officer. Why can't we put that into play? And
Not until you reconsider.
Not till you
that's what I
reconsider.
mean, with officers.
I can't address nothing until we have a motion to start this process, to open it for conversation, so then we can negotiate that back and forth as far as, and there are numbers that we can negotiate.
But immediately, somebody could make a motion to pass it as is.
Yes, I'm assuming.
Well, here's what's gonna happen, this is a workshop.
Right.
But if we have an understanding that somebody's gonna make that motion to reconsider, we reconvene as the county commission. The motion to reconsider is the first thing that happens. If it passes, then you can move on and consider the motion again.
If it passes.
If it passes. If it doesn't pass, then we're back where we were, and the sheriff has his obligations, and you all have your obligations, and some judge somewhere will make this decision. It may be Chancellor Bryan, I don't know if she'll hear it or not.
And another workshop could not be called.
You can always call a workshop. Workshops are informal meetings by agreement. You can always call another workshop. You can, in the middle of the litigation, he might bring another resolution that might resolve it. Those things are possible. But of course, right now, we're in a workshop, so all you can do is we can talk and come to an understanding of what may happen in the meeting if we have it. And I think the requirement here is for at least one of the four to say, all right, if we can reconvene as a regular meeting, I will move to reconsider. And then this whole thing's back on the table for us to talk about numbers and adjustments and something. But right, we can't. I mean, right now, we're trying to get together and agree on what we have, something to move forward to avoid the litigation that's gonna be involved. I'm gonna say the litigation's gonna take some time, during which time you have these openings that aren't being filled.
So if this resolution that's being failed, if we leave it alone, why can't we discuss another possible resolution, get some numbers? Tommy got some, his thought, we got ours, it's a workshop.
Another resolution can be presented, I don't mean to interrupt, but yes, another resolution can be presented, but not today.
But not today.
And you have to go through
The 5 more days, what is it, 5 days?
Yeah, but now you can discuss and negotiate
Yeah,
right here
right,
now,
yeah,
just
yeah.
it could not be voted on officially.
No, it can't be 5 more days. We can't call special meetings whenever we want to create new resolutions.
You only have.
We only have
one-
two for the
Two for
year.
the entire year.
And this is number one.
We got,
Right,
So you just tell us, I mean,
special call
meetings.
meetings.
it wouldn't have to be a special call, maybe we could wait till,
No, we can push it off till September, and if we don't agree in September, we can go in October, and then November, I mean.
whatever we agree.
And meanwhile, as our attorney said, we've got nobody on the road.
Some more or less, we can't go no further unless we reconsider.
Well, let's let Tommy give what he thinks he can go with.
You have to reconsider.
You have to reconsider.
You have to reconsider before he can even talk about it.
We can either, we can reconsider or we can not. If we don't want to reconsider,
Where the milestone here.
No, you are in a workshop. You can discuss.
I started to say,
We're in workshop, we're not
This
in the
can be
meeting,
discussed.
so you can discuss anything on this particular proposal.
okay.
So he can answer that question.
So let me answer that question then. We are, the resolution that came before you guys that was voted down was 52-5. The email I received yesterday with the spreadsheet with the salaries for the deputies is $50,000 each. What, and I feel like this is middle ground for all of us. This matches Sweetwater City pay. We're staying inside Monroe County. We're not going outside of Monroe County. And they're at 51,272. That is halfway between the 52.5 and the 50,000.
Have you got copies of that, Tommy?
Which one?
You're going over.
What you're going over right now?
I got the email that I got yesterday, and then I got the
That's the
resolution.
one we got.
Yeah.
Did we get copies of
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
That way we got it in.
I disagree with that representation because we're only looking at one line.
we are.
The resolution that's currently on there has everybody from deputies all the way up to chief.
Yes.
And each of those lines have been adjusted quite substantially.
And that's-
So we're changing the entire makeup, and you're only addressing the deputy salary.
No, he wasn't done, these guys.
I'm just saying,
He finished what he,
Yeah, I was just.
I want us to
starting
make sure we look at that entire
we
line.
cut him
give
off.
him a minute.
Yeah, I just wanna keep it real simple, so we all stay on the same page and go through line by line
Right.
of what we can do with adjustments. When you guys get this copy, you'll see, the number amounts. What I'm gonna ask you for is if we can, and this is comparable pay, like I said, to a city agency here, that we compete with constantly and losing deputies to. If we can match their pay, we're good with that.
You talking about Sweetwater?
Sweetwater. And that would put us, you'll see the, now corporal will have to come up with, they don't have corporals. They got sergeants and captains. So, we'd have to come up with a number on it and.
What would be the total cost of that?
Well, you got the
I-
paperwork.
We're waiting on copies. I had the
Today?
finance department to hand to each of you Monroe County Government Handbook. And I want to call your attention to page 35, Workplace Security. Because the other night, there were things that happened in the actual courtroom upstairs, and it was to provide a safe workplace for our employees and to provide a comfortable and secure atmosphere for our customers and others with whom we do business. The county will not tolerate any violent acts or threats of violence. On county premises, any employee who commits or threats to commit any violent act against any person while on county premises will be subject to immediate termination. The county premises includes our roadways and parking lots. And I just wanted to read that in. I wanted people to know, and I've had the handbooks. This is Monroe County Workplace Handbook. And there were things that happened in our courtroom upstairs after the meeting was closed that should never have happened. And on the sidewalk as you go out of this courthouse. So I want to remind each and every employee and of those things. And we have these copies back. Miss Lori, it's the same thing, what I got.
Hey, this is the same resolution.
This is same
That's the
thing.
same one we had.
It is,
Yeah.
that's what I was going with. Yes, that was the same resolution you guys voted down last month.
Okay.
And I was prepared,
Have we got one in between, that, one that we could work with, I mean,
you got the new one that was sent by someone from the commission. That's the one I'm comparing the numbers to. the ones that everyone was handed when we first came in? No?
But what
We got-
about the city of Sweetwater? That's the one we thought we were getting.
Oh, no, that's on the spreadsheet here. I'm sorry, I misunderstood Commissioner Reed. I
Because
thought
this
it was
is
that
something
one.
that we already have.
Yes. Hey, guys, I do want to bring your attention, if y'all could talk or do what you need to for a minute. We're figuring these numbers here, so you sure those.
Does Sweetwater have comparables for each of these line items?
Yes, sir. All but corporal. They do not have corporals, but they do have comparables to all the.
They have court deputies, narcotics?
No court deputies.
So they don't have court deputy, they don't have narcotics?
They do have narcotics.
They do?
Yes.
Do they have a training captain?
They do not.
Do they have a fleet manager?
They do not.
Okay, so again,
Yes.
using them as a straight across comparable is absolutely, I mean,
Well, what we've done with.
we're only comparing deputies to deputies.
Yes, and what we done with the resolution that you guys denied was a captain's a captain. So if you're a patrol captain, court captain, airwalk captain, that's the salary we've asked for.
Okay,
So based off of that, because they do have a patrol captain, position. Now, court officers, we were a little bit under what deputies' pay was, is what we requested, just because of their transition from courts. and
Okay.
their Enhanced, obligations to be a patrolman. The fleet manager, we were setting that pay at the same as deputies' pay.
okay.
So if we can come to an agreement of, if the patrol officers are this amount of money, then that's what fleet would be set at also. And just so you guys know too, because I know that's came into question by a lot of you on the fleet manager, he's currently making $41,446 a year. Guys, if we go out, and I've called several companies and asked, hey, if we bring our vehicles to you to work on, you're looking at $75 to $125 per hour to work on these vehicles.
But
I
we
believe
do,
that.
we do have the inmates work, they work out there
Yes,
next.
yes, sir, they do.
So they actually,
Yes.
the fleet manager, he's over
He
them,
oversees.
he's over the shop. We got inmates that doesn't work.
Yes, sir, we do. We have those, and he oversees, double checks their work, because they are inmates, and we did put them there. So we want to make sure our cars are in good condition. So he does oversee that. He also does the Brinker on the SWAT team. He's over our Marine Patrol. He's the one that heads it up, and he is scheduled for the academy, I think, in October this year. So his, not only is he a certified foreign and domestic master mechanic, in October or so, he will be sworn or a certified deputy. So, just keep that in mind when you're looking at this pay.
So going back, Sheriff, to when you started your proposal, you was on the deputy line and you was, you said something about 51?
Yeah, because Chief was sitting here doing the math on what we proposed, what we received an email yesterday that one of the commissioners created. And there's $2,508 difference on the line. I mean, that's how close we are to being able to say, hey, we can resolve this, we can go on.
Thank you.
I do too. So with that being said, I guess you guys are now, or what you originally asked for was this, showing the salaries of the Sweetwater Police Department. Is that right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Lori, can I borrow you again?
Sure.
My
I'm
question
sorry.
is, the whole deal, I mean, all the giving and raises like this, what is it gonna cost, the total cost?
Well, that, I can't answer that until we set up the base pay. Once we get the pay, and we agree to it, then we can get you a total.
I can tell you, once y'all decide what numbers you want to use, then in a few minutes, I can get you a total number.
Well,
What it costs.
yes, what was called.
We just need to go into the proposal.
Kathy, quicker than I should.
Thank you. This is the section.
Sheriff, I'd like to say, I appreciate your willingness to talk about that and look at Sweetwater's numbers. I don't want us, as a board, to lose sight of the total argument, though. You know, comparing against Sweetwater is great, and salary versus salary is great, but let's look at call volume versus call volume. We cannot compare apples to grapes. We have to compare apples to apples. And so, you know, we need to look at broader comparisons when we're looking at it. We need to look at all the comparisons. Just saying, okay, Sweetwater's 51,272, so that's where we're at. You know, maybe it's 52,000. Maybe we come off 5, you know? Maybe it's 51.5. But just aiming for one number doesn't solve the fact that we're missing some of those job descriptions. Doesn't make up for the fact that we're 5 times the call volume. I mean, the workload is the workload. They're covering, you know, 20 square miles. They're covering 600 and something square miles. I mean, you cannot discount those when we're looking at these comparables. So I beg you to just, you know, not just get that number of 51.2 in your head. Let's come up with a reasonable solution and let's put this to bed.
Well, what Tommy was referring to, he wanted to bring it to the county, look at Monroe County, and he was using Sweetwater City to do that, because they're the highest paid city in the county. That's what he
But he also brought us in that first round, THP, Blount County, Roane County, Loudoun County, Madisonville, Monroe Sheriff, and Vonore. He compared all of the areas. And so we looked at those comparables. We threw out certainly THP is high. We threw out Vonore is low. But when you compare the rest, it put us at that 52.5 mark. So just aiming for one doesn't solve retention problem, doesn't solve that completely, so.
And what Commissioner Sauter's saying, I mean, I do agree with him as far as we factored in every one of these as far as the cities and surrounding counties, and that's where we came up. We eliminated THP because their salaries were so great, and Telco because theirs were so small. With that is where that 52.5 average came from. And you know, and I do want you guys to keep in mind, I worked for the city of Sweetwater for a while, great department. But they run as many patrolmen inside the city as we do in the county. And like you're saying, they're covering all of this 20 square miles.
I don't know what the square miles was, sorry.
7 miles.
7 square miles.
Rusty,
Okay.
2 work there. I know they only circle it so many times a night without not going to sleep. It gets rough. But with that being said, I mean, they don't have the responsibilities or the areas coverage that we have, that the deputies have, and so, you know, the civil papers, the criminal summonses, criminal arrest warrants, all of those are things that we're obligated. I mean, by law, we have to do. That is our job. So, you know, and I was, let's just be honest here, I know a couple of you really don't like me that well, and that's fine. I understand that. But look past me and see who this affects. This affects the deputies. I know you love me. I ain't worried about you.
That's a guilty conscience right there.
The only thing I'm against you is your spending, Tom. Your spending
We
is
turn
not
in a
based.
lot of money.
You know that.
No, you're wrong on that one. We turn a lot of money in. But with that being said, look past me and see the people this is affecting. My salary's set by the state of Tennessee. It doesn't matter what you do here, it stays the same. Or it goes up as the state says for it to go up. This is affecting our deputies and our taxpayers, our residents. That's who we need to focus on.
And this original proposal, Roger, it's, if I'm correct, and I think I am, $291,879. So $292, just for.
What, and the cost on this one, the math's already done on it. It shows a grand total on the very bottom about, and I've not had a lot of time to look over this one. 236,474. 12. So, if you do that difference.
Does that lift two deputies also at it?
That is adding 2 deputies, yes, sir.
Where you at, Tom? Where you seeing that?
That's what we offered.
2,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, the grand total on the bottom.
Grand total, yeah.
It's 236, 474, 12. And, I promise Chris is a lot better chief than he is.
44,000.
Yeah, 44,000 difference is where we're at. In the 2 proposals.
44,000,
44, 474.
So what you are saying on the proposal, instead of 50,000 for the deputies, 51,272
Yes, ma'am.
is your proposal, and then the, is that leaving the corporals and sergeants and others down the line, or are we back to the original?
No, goes down the line on what you're seeing there with Sweetwater. Now, you see corporal says NA because they do not have corporals. So we will have to come up with a salary in between the patrol officer and the sergeant, because that's where they fall as far as rank goes. You know, I'm not, with that being said, does it eliminate the issues of them leaving us going to Sweetwater because it's gonna be the same money? It does not. The only way we can offset that is to have better benefits at the sheriff's office, have better, more reasons for them to be here. I can't say anything as far as longevity. They do the same, plus they have a merit bonus that they give out each year. We do not have a merit bonus. You know, equipment wise, those guys have really nice equipment. So we have to offer something more to keep them here. Or we will be in the same position, as we are now. But for negotiation purposes, I mean, like I said, we're at 52.5. This, that the commission set was at 50, and they're 51,272.
No, the commission did not set
Well,
anything at 50. Let's stop this, please.
Whoever's.
No, I'm offended. I'm offended that 50,000 was thrown out and it's based on nothing but what one person wants to see. Your number of 52.5 is based on statistical information, calculated comparables. It is what the Department of Labor requires when you negotiate. It is what courts will look at when you sue us. Yours is based in fact. This is I would like to see it. And so now we're going to take that number, we're going to adjust it artificially to 51.2, and then what, are we going to flip a coin with each one down there? I mean, decide, do we cut captains by 50, 100, 500, 2,500? I mean, anything we decide is based on complete conjecture and the wishes of somebody. Yours is based on fact. I'm okay if you think that number's a little high. I'm okay if he wants to concede and go down lower. So then let's just say we reduce everybody by 500. All the way down the line, make it even. At least we keep the separation, at least we keep the scales, and in the end, at least we save a crap load of money, $500 per employee over a bunch of employees. I mean,
And I agree.
at least there's a methodology to that versus just coming up with numbers.
And I agree where you're coming from, and I appreciate what you're saying. We have put a lot of time, and these are the numbers that we've submitted. We've been to 2 workshops and 2 commission meetings. We've spent 4 different times on this, and this is our 5th go. I guess if you count the 30-minute workshop into this, it'd be 6.
So, Tommy,
We
can we?
have to do something, or we're gonna end up
Right back at the same place.
same place, and I'm gonna be out there.
Can we hear you out with your finishing your?
Yeah, and with what DJ's saying, I like, because this is gonna be hard for us to comprehend and put our heads around when we just start throwing these numbers out. Their steps are their steps. We have them in ours. I want you to see, and that's why I started off at the 52, or I'm sorry, 51,272 on the patrol side. If we can adjust these lines, if it's $500, $1,000, every what you guys are comfortable with, we cannot go, I mean, guys, we just can't go no lower than what Sweetwater City is paying. And that's where I was going with this and want you guys to see there's pay. If we can get close, I don't wanna go lower. If we do, it's not gonna resolve any issues. We do have in what you guys were presented and it failed, there were true steps put in. You know, and you can see as you go down the line of 52.5, and as you're promoted to the corporal, you're 55, then $2,500 step to the sergeant, and at 58, then 62 for the captain over that division, and it goes on from there. You know, I know a lot of questions just came in because you see it's sticker shock is what it is. You see $14,000 for the court captain pay increase, $14,000. Well, trust me, when we done the numbers on it, I looked at it the same way. I was like, good Lord, what are we doing? How are we gonna afford this? But at the same time, she's the most underpaid. She's getting paid $48,151 currently. With the patrol captain, another captain, getting paid $57,195. So this brings her up to where she needs to be. Plus, it just levels the field across the board for each position as you're promoted. You know, there again, when we had talked about some of these proposals, you know, it was just focused on the patrol side with no admin or higher ups as it likes to be referred to. And if we raise those guys, and we have the sergeants at 53,860, and this was an old proposal, and we leave the current staff the way they are, we would be passing our supervisors, because when you transition from that salary, or an hourly rate at time and a half to salary, it would cause a huge issue. So no one would take a promotion if I offered it. No one would want to be able to take it and be on call and work all hours of the night. Because I think, now, Danny and William, tell me if I'm right or wrong, with you guys, just so I understand, EMT's EMT, right? That is what you get paid.
AMT. You still have
AMT or paramedic or.
Yeah,
still have
yeah, go ahead with your question.
So you guys, if you're a paramedic, no matter what, you get the same pay, right? Unless you have special certifications or qualifications.
Correct, the paramedics get a certain pay unless they have special certifications that they carry, they get more money.
That enhances.
And if they're a supervisor, they get more money.
Yes, sir.
AMTs are the same way, EMTs are the same way.
Yes, sir. And that's where we were going with the proposal that was turned down. Was you have your base at the 52.5, and then through training, education, experience, longevity, and promotions, that's when you step up.
I have a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
This is just cutting to the bull, okay?
Yes.
Just tell me what your final deal is that you'll do on your part, and then propose it to us right here, and let's just get to the quick of it.
I'm going to be very, $1,000 off, straight down the line, each.
$1,000 off for each line.
Yes, sir.
That's where you're at,
Yes.
okay?
I probably should say 500, because I got a feeling that somebody's gonna come back and say, you said 1,000, let's say 15. But,
That's your final number all the way across the board down the line.
and that would put us at,
And with 2 deputies.
with 2 deputies, yes, sir. If we're at 52.5, that'd put us at 51.5, and Sweetwater's 51,272. That would put us just a little bit ahead of them.
So you're taking off 1,000 from the request that was presented in the workshop, I mean, the
Yes, yes, sir.
commission, you're taking off 1,000?
Yes, sir.
Or you just had, okay, so 52.5 for the deputies, you're looking at 51.5.
Yes, sir.
Corporals, 55,000, you're at 54,000.
Yes, sir.
1,000 all the way down the
If
line.
you take 1,000 off of every
And
request
then
you
you
see.
go down to the court captain, you're looking at a $14,000 raise for him, you're taking $1,000 off of him.
Yes, sir. Straight down the line.
Sheriff, I commend you for wanting to work with us, but I won't support that. I want to support the resolution that you put forward, that pays the deputies, that pays the captains, pays the corporals, pays the staff what they want to. I think if you cut it, we're still gonna have loss through attrition. We're still gonna have those going to other outside departments. Your office has worked to put a resolution together that's fair, that's equitable, that's competitive, and I think that's what we need to be focusing on.
I disagree. He's trying to negotiate, he's being fair about it. I understand your comparables that you're wanting to do. I understand that. I voted for that last time. But I'm telling you, the man's in here trying to work with us so we don't have to take this in front of some judge, decide our county problems. We're trying to solve it right here.
This isn't gonna solve it. This isn't gonna solve it.
Well, he's trying, he's negotiating.
Sheriff, if you can live with that, I'll support that for you, but you tell me if that's something that you can work with.
I feel like we have no other options at this point.
Reluctantly, I'll support it because of you, for the
And, I
department.
mean, those numbers, you know, I'll accept it, under distress, but I'll accept it. If we can all agree.
Somebody doesn't reconsider, open that meeting and accept that while it's on the floor.
Let me ask you this, Sheriff.
We're crazy.
A Sweetwater detective makes how much a year?
Sweetwater detective is $60,409.
All right, when you go with just detectives, what do they make a year?
Currently, our detectives make $57,195.
And they're how much more of us than us?
57, $2,200. With the requested, what I'm requesting was 62,500 for the detective.
Right.
That would have just been, knocking 1,000 off, would have just been down to 61,500. And that would put them, they're at 64,09, so $1,100 difference, I guess.
I was a detective in Sweetwater, I've been a detective in Mountain View, been a detective in the county. I'm gonna tell you, the county works better. They got more calls than anybody, they got more burglaries than anybody. Nearly all your murders happen out in the county, because it's so far between everything out here in this county especially. I'm gonna do everything Tommy wants.
I want to remind us, that's something we can talk about, the details. The question is, are you going to reconsider? And that takes 1 of 4 people to say yes.
Hey, Roger,
Does
you
that
read
need to
this
be
in
done in the workshop or?
No, none of you in the workshop will, but there's no point reconvening unless we can have understanding if there's going to be a motion to reconsider. That's all you can do in a workshop, you can understand me.
What do you boys?
But then, once you get it to the commission meeting, now we can talk about these details that you're trying to talk about.
What do you want to do?
Just take one and decide yes or no, or whatever you want to do.
Madam Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I don't see any other departments that are being asked to lower their stuff. But we're asking the sheriff to do that for us, okay? Now, I may be out of order, but that stinks. Last Tuesday night or whenever it was, I never saw, Mr. White stand up here and you give him $350,000. I never seen him, I never asked, nobody asked him, hey, can we reconsider this? Nobody asked him that. It's the only statement I'm gonna make, okay?
Either department, I think we're talking about a lot.
Yes, sir.
I agree, which is why I think we need to fund this as is.
I think it's a total disgrace we have these people that work here and we're saying you're worth a little bit, but you're not worth an extra $1,000.
So you're gonna let $1,000, that's what I'm saying.
I sat in my driveway not too long ago with a guy that was in a bad motorcycle wreck, and I sat there thinking, what am I gonna do? Because there was no ambulance, there was no sheriff's department, I waited forever. We need these people on the road just as much as we need these paramedics on the road. I'm a paramedic. I don't work for the county anymore, but had one of y'all commissioners or the mayor, anybody said, you're not worth $1,000, I'd have picked up and left. Because I'm worth it. You're worth it.
So,
And there's a lot of people prepared to do that.
yeah.
The next question, Tommy, do you know what the total cost?
I'm working on it.
He's working on it right now, he's working on it.
Get that, Tom.
Everybody get his breath there. I don't know, he's got to work on
Provided lunch.
I know what you go through down there. I've been there.
Sure. I get on the sheriff, we just cut it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a rose or-
Well, that's true, and then we never really took a job at all.
Yeah.
Well, that would be the charge.
Yeah. So the next step in the workshop is to have someone that says they're willing to bring the initial resolution to a vote.
No, up for reconsideration.
Reconsideration.
Yeah.
And that's for a vote.
Well,
Or amendment.
You're gonna reconsider, you're gonna go back into this discussion with all these details you want to, after you get reconvened as the county commission. But there's no point reconvening unless you have somebody who voted in the, one of our four people to say, I will make a motion to reconsider.
And then if it's in reconsideration, someone else can make a motion real quick and vote without the reconsideration.
I'm sorry, Paul,
I think what she's referring to, I think maybe the possible, I'm gonna use the word fear or concern is, it's reconsidered, it's voted to reconsider, and someone moves to move the original motion immediately, which
Right.
is legal, as long as it and receives a second. I think that, then that becomes an ethical
But
issue
you still
from
have-
the workshop.
You still have parliamentary procedure, so if I tried to do that, somebody could call, point of order, and then bring up a motion, and bring up an amendment, and so on and so forth. There are
Yes,
avenues
but
available
that's
to each
what
of
Paulette
us.
was referring
Well,
to.
maybe procedures go
We can
fine.
amend it,
I'm trying to understand what you're trying to
It
ask
does
me.
go that way, we can.
When you
amend it.
reconsider, it's back on the floor like the original motion. If you,
Right.
of course, the motion to reconsider is just a motion, it has to be voted on. But once you have a motion to reconsider, that's voted on. Now, it's back on the floor just like you hadn't had the vote. And it's still subject to whatever you want to do with it, just like you hadn't had the original vote. And that means changing it, amending it, whatever. Anything you could have done then, you can do once you get it back on the floor.
Right.
But it has to be back on the floor to a motion to reconsider.
But if you reconsider, like what you're saying right there, once it's reconsidered, if it gets after that point, then we can amend the thing, right?
Yes. Once
We
you get
can
back
amend
on-
it, yes.
Once you get back on the floor and the commission, and you pass a motion to reconsider, now you've erased all that, you're back where you were, you're still the county commission, you can still do what you want to with that motion, which is amended or rejected again. Or,
But we can amend it.
yes,
We do.
you can.
I do.
So,
I want it amended. He's trying to work with us.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Is there a motion to bring it back to the board?
That you got.
you guys.
Well, you have to come back into county commission.
Right, but we don't wanna
But,
reconvene
I mean,
this,
why
cancel this
reconvene?
until one of them's, yes, no?
I believe I'm waiting on a number over there they're working on.
I've got one, but I've got the number there here.
That's fine, I
Well,
appreciate it.
he's roughly giving you the number. If you take the employees that are on the list, there's 35 of them, times 1,000.
It is, but I'm switch
Fact check.
35 employees times 1,000, it's 35,000 off his original proposal. I learned my gazintas a long time ago. They're there.
38 off the original.
Jethro and I went to the same school in Beverly Hills. At Cypher.
Graduate to 5th grade.
Did? With honors.
392 plus.
You grow, we say there's a hospital.
I think the general consensus between Gail and Kathy is 392 plus benefits.
392, 842.
Plus benefits.
Yeah, plus benefits.
Roger, did you hear that? Did you hear those
No,
numbers?
I don't think that'd be plus benefits, but I believe benefits is included.
I just
You
took
dropped,
it.
you dropped $1,000 off. Each one, the total amount was on the resolution 822-5P was $430,842.96. All you done was dropped $1,000 off them. So it's $38,000 off of $430,000, comes to $392,000. So that should include the benefit.
Well, if you reduce your benefits 1,000, or
I mean,
reduce the salaries
It
1,000.
will
reduce
adjust
the
it a little,
Yes.
but he said that's including benefits. So for the most part, the benefit should be the, with a adjustment.
Yes.
So remember, we had 750,000 come in. We're relieving the, letter of agreement by 750,000. With it being a increase of the salaries by 392, that still leaves you guys putting $358,000 back into the fund balance and supporting and passing this. And again, that's adding 2 more deputies.
The only thing about, that I'm concerned about, if them grants don't come through, we will have to sponsor
We will.
the SOR, which will have to be a tax raise to do it.
No.
No more than what we did last month. There's no income coming in for what we did last month for the other departments. So that already, had he not squirreled away money for overtime to cover his overage, he would have been.
I don't want to talk about this ambulance.
No, I do,
Hey,
because
we
it's.
need to tell the sheriff that the sheriff.
I want to make
It's
one quick
called for
comment
the
we get into
sheriff's,
that this morning.
this is for the sheriff's.
I do want you guys.
New resolution.
We turned back in, what was it this year? 641,000, okay? And I want you guys, and Roger Paulette's been here as long as I've been, longer than I've been here. Roger's been here 3 sheriffs, I think, 4. Historically, you can go back and look at those budgets. We always turn in anywhere from $400,000 to $800,000 a year, always. And we do that by, as Paulette recommended a long time ago, research grants, find grants, apply for it, and we've done that. And we get those grants that relieves the money that you guys put in our budget, so we are at the end of the year able to turn that kind of money back in.
If we get the workhouse that you asked for last, we're gonna double that next year, so we're fine.
Well, that's not even speaking of board bills. I mean, we're generating
Right.
$1.3 million a year off of board bills.
Understood.
Yes. Total revenue for the jail is
That's-
close to $2 million.
Come on, somebody.
Well, you've heard his number. Are one of the 4 gonna make a motion to reconsider that?
And we need to remember that Monroe County, as of July 1st, gave a 5% raise to every individual that worked for the county. And if you look at the big companies, Denso, which is one of the largest employers in, I think, United States, only gave a 3% raise.
But they pay more to start with.
Yeah, exactly.
They pay more to start with, none of them have a gun pointed to their head, I mean,
This is,
How
I'm
long did we
making
do without a raise?
5%, 5%. That's a good deal.
if you wanna do things like that, I mean, look at the national average on deputies. We really probably should have about 30 on the road right now.
Exactly.
We don't wanna look at those numbers, cause they scare us, but we wanna look at Denzo's numbers. We cannot compare that way.
So,
It's irresponsible.
So here's the conversation. The mayor put forward a new position to write grants for us in the future. And if that's the concern, is that this is on a grant, then with that new individual coming into that role, if this grant goes away in 3 years, that's what we're paying that individual to do, would be to find money to replace this. So I honestly have a meeting, and I'm not playing politics here, I have to leave by 11 o'clock. If we are going to make something happen, I need to happen here in the next few minutes, otherwise this meeting's been for nothing.
It's up to you
Do we hear a motion? Come on now.
Come on, one of you. You moved substantially, let's go.
Motion on in.
Okay.
You'll reconsider?
We'll reconsider the minute.
Reconsider.
What you do is make a
Does that have to be a motion?
Making a motion.
Call us back into session.
Motion to reconvene the meeting.
I move
Okay.
we go back into session.
Hang on.
Yeah, have to
Reconvene.
adjourn the workshop,
What's the
call
wor-
the meeting back into order.
Okay, we'll adjourn the workshop, we'll call the
Meeting's back in order.
meeting, okay, the special call meeting back in order. So, now, do we have a motion?
Motion.
William has made a motion to bring and reconsider.
Anybody can second that, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
No. Just one before, right?
Just one.
No,
No.
not to second.
On
No,
the-
second anybody.
On the
Okay.
I'll
set, it is,
I'll, DJ,
Adam.
one of us will second the
Got it.
motion to reconsider.
Adam.
Okay, second by Adam. All right, now, reconsider the new proposal.
Has to be voted on.
Motion to amend what the sheriff
No,
said.
no.
Motion to reconsider has to be
the
voted on.
motion
Okay,
to
the
reconsider has to be voted
Okay.
on by the body
Right.
first.
Roll call.
William Cross,
Aye.
Danny Everhart, Brian Harrell,
No.
Craig Miller, Adam Reynolds,
Aye.
TJ Silent,
Aye.
Paulette Summey,
Aye.
Roger Thomas,
No.
Travis Wade,
Aye.
Mac Williams. 8 ayes, 2 nays.
2/3 vote. Done.
Okay. So, now, we
So now
are,
you wanna make,
Now, the original motion is back on the floor. Where's
original
resolution?
motion is back on the floor,
And
but this, we don't want to, we need to reconsider the original motion with amendments.
Yes.
No, you gotta the original motion is back on the floor with that limitation. Like it never happened. Like the original vote never happened. You're back in session considering the original resolution as it was presented. Now you can make a motion to amend that original resolution, which is what I think you're wanting to do.
Motion to amend.
Yeah. No,
Danny,
but
is that
we
your
have,
Second.
say your
Yeah,
motion,
to go with the sheriff's last deal.
Do you need those?
What is that motion?
knocking $1,000 off each of the
$1,000
each of
off
the
each one and take
advertised rates.
and,
Madam Chair, I think what the councilor's saying that you need to, just like a normal county commission meeting, you need to read the original motion, 522-P, whatever it is, and then
okay,
as presented. And then, of course, it would be available for a motion.
the original motion, 822-5P, be it resolved by the Monroe County Board of County Commissioners meeting in regular session that the following amendment for the Monroe County Sheriff budget be made in the general fund budget. And the original was $430,842.96. And it's got all the different categories.
Motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion to approve.
I'll second for discussion.
Now it's open for discussion. What would you like to do?
I'd like to put a motion forward to amend it to what the sheriff had come with $1,000 off of each one plus 2 deputies.
Second.
Well, I'm sorry.
What?
Well, I'm lost
I'm
now.
trying to understand, Mr. Chairman, where do you think we are?
She has a motion and a second. It is open for discussion.
And the motion is to.
Amend.
Well, you got the original motion. Mr. Seiler moved the motion, the original motion. Commissioner Reynolds seconded the motion for discussion. Now it can be amendable.
Which,
Motion to amend.
So we have a motion to amend.
Commissioner Everhart made a motion to adjust it to the
We need
sheriff's
it,
numbers.
that would need to be a second.
I
second that, or
Adam seconded it.
And probably the amendment needs to be read so everyone in the room is clear what the amendment is,
With the amendments added.
which is,
The $1,000 off of each one plus 2 deputies.
You
correct?
agreed. Deputies at 51.5.
Don't we need,
54,
don't we need
57, right? That's what you agreed. 1,000 off each of those lines.
Well, the total's $392,000.
Okay.
There's been several individuals that get.
If we read this, if you take the original motion,
Yeah.
if you have that, deputies would be 51.5, corporal 54,000, sergeant 57,000, patrol captain 61.5, detective 57,000, narcotics 57,000, detective of narcotics captain 61.5, court deputy 49,000, court captain 61.5, training captain 61.5, fleet manager 51.5, 2 additional deputies at 51.5, and then the chief at 79,000.
For a total of 392,000,
92,842. Is that correct?
and that's the amendment and second.
and I'll call the question, which is.
He's called for the question,
Okay.
so
Call the question.
all those in favor of what you just read?
Yeah.
Well, that's up to them.
Roll call, please. And this is voting on the amendment.
Yes.
William Cross,
Aye.
Danny Everhart,
Aye.
Brian Harrell, Craig Miller, Adam Reynolds,
I think it's a discretion, but I'm gonna vote aye, so we can move forward.
DJ Silent,
Same comment, aye.
Paulette Summey,
Aye.
Roger Thomas,
No.
Travis Wade,
Aye.
Frank Williams.
Now you need to vote the original motion
No,
as-
we have to vote on the original motion.
Okay.
as amended.
As
Okay.
amended, right?
Now, we vote on the original motion, which was 0822-5P as amended.
As amended.
and
As amended.
read those totals one more time for the record.
And as amended, deputies will be 51.5, corporal 54,000, sergeant 57,000, patrol captain 61.5, detective 57,000, narcotics 57,000, detective narcotics captain 61.5, court deputy 49,000, court captain 61.5, training captain 61.5, fleet manager 51.5, and 2 additional deputies at 51.5.
Call the question.
Question.
Call the question.
Call the question, it's a vote.
And
Roll.
so roll call,
No,
I'm looking for it.
gotta be a motion.
No, that's
Wait,
it.
that
No,
is, we're
that
there.
was the
She
motion.
read it,
Yes,
the amended,
motion,
we had a second on it, we had a motion, now call the question, which is the vote.
vote.
Roll call.
William Kraus,
Aye.
Danny Everhart,
Aye.
Brian Harrell,
Uh,
Craig Miller,
Aye.
Adam Reynolds.
Aye.
DJ Silent.
Aye.
Paulette Summey.
Aye.
Roger Thomas.
No.
Travis Wade.
Aye.
Mac Williams.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
Travis Wade. DJ, motion to adjourn.